So, we have this one photo in particular. There's about, I don't know, maybe up to 10 photos of various, people who are now dead, almost certainly. Yeah, or, almost all of them were dead. And, there's no description of who these people were. There was some writing in the back of these photos. And, one photo in particular, 1935, I would guess it was taken, was of a family, and on the back it said in Litvish, Litvak, Lithuanian Yiddish, they're all dead. I'm the only survivor. It was sent from Ulonsky Paraulak, number 13, I believe it was, Moscow, USSR, and what happened? So my uncle, he sent off a letter, trying to that address and said, if you're there, please, contact us. Placed an ad in Pravda, please contact us. There was no reply. And, part of the reason why was it was the height of the Cold War. And, fucking Reagan was, trying to gin up, fear and hatred of our country, the Soviet Union. Most of my family were communist, even over in America. And so, anyway, historically speaking, whatever in that period. So there's no contact. It was like South and North Korea, just cut off, right? Decades. After a genocide, everyone was wiped out. That photo apparently was sent in 1948, okay, from Moscow to Queens, New York, and had to, whatever. So, and my grandmother never mentioned these photos, never talked about these people. Lied and said we had one cousin, she was studying piano in Moscow at the time of the invasion of the Soviet Union, and she was not murdered, or this cousin was not murdered. I don't think she even specified whether it was a he or a she. Anyway, so decades pass. 2019, I managed to track down this family, the person who sent the photo, she had died in 2002. Her daughter and granddaughter and grandson were alive. Grandson was about my age, a little older. Granddaughter was, some years younger, like 10, 12 years younger than I. And, what? So, during that time, 1948 was the start of the fucking Red Purge in America. It was also the start of the Cold War, right? And the U.S. had the atomic bomb then, and was threatening to nuke. It was thinking about, going and destroying the Soviet Union. At one level, they were thinking of it. They couldn't do it, but, for various historical, strategic reasons, they couldn't do it. They were, they dropped the atomic bombs on Japan to basically threaten the Soviet Union with the same. If, say, they took over Western Europe like they should have and administered, proletarian justice to all the murderers and collaborators in Western Europe who sent the Nazis to murder all my people, right? And so, one side of my family was Soviet, one survivor, or maybe we had 3 survivors, I'm not quite sure. At least one survivor I know of, out of 50 or 100 people. Okay. So she's in Moscow, she had a decent life, but, she always thought of her family that was basically murdered, right, by the fucking West. And then the fucking West, fucking Washington, D.C., they threatened us, our people in the Soviet Union, with atomic, death by atomic bomb. After they had murdered 30 million of our people, after our country, Soviet Belarus, a quarter to a third of our country was murdered or enslaved. And, my cousin was never able to reunite also with, my grandmother, her aunt, surviving aunt, and the surviving family from the town who still lived in New York. Excuse me. So there's more to the story. It's complex, but whatever. So those are the bare details. So basically, you see, the West sent the Nazis. Our people, the Jews, were overwhelmingly pro-Soviet, if not communist, and they then, after they murdered 6 million Jews, they threatened the Soviet Union with death again, and then murdered the Rosenbergs, who stole atomic secrets, and other heroes of the Soviet Union stole atomic secrets to speed up the atomic bomb production, so we could arm over here and threaten the filthy cockroaches like Graham with death. And 2 years ago, maybe it was, or three, I went to Appleton, Wisconsin, the home of Joseph McCarthy, just south of where my other family came, kind of settled in Marquette, Michigan, on the Upper Peninsula Canadian border. And, I went to the town historical society, and I was like, oh, well, there's an old man there. He's like the director of the historical center. He said, well, I'm curious about Joseph McCarthy, like who backed him? It wasn't just him, he was kind of a freak, a demagogue and a drunk, drank himself to death. But, he was also scapegoated in the end by, the liberal scum who, tolerated him or used him. And this old man, rather than explain to me, oh, well, because, I said, I told him a story I just told you. And, rather than say, oh, well, yes, I'm very sorry to hear about your family's tragedy and the genocide, and, for which, America and the West is, in large part responsible. Yeah. He started going on about, well, your family here, though, they lived in freedom and they enjoyed America's freedom. And, what else did he say? Your other cousin, she lived under communist tyranny, and I just looked at him like, well, no, in fact, your friends, wiped out all our people, and my grandmother lost her mind, at least once or twice. Well, anyway, because of the genocide, she lost her mind. There's another time, too, but... she lost her mind. And what else? The family was separated. Most of the family over here in the former Soviet Union, at that time the Soviet Union, they were murdered, by your friends. And, you're a filthy fucking worm. And, the town itself, Appleton, Wisconsin, it's very, petit bourgeois. And these are the filth generally in Eastern Europe that would, murder the Jews before even the Wehrmacht and the SS arrived. They were just, I think Isaac Deutscher once said they were hysterical, brutal, and I would say filthy cockroaches, vermin, who should have been wiped out and still need to be wiped out. And, that's what this scum in Appleton, Wisconsin was. Yeah. Unapologetic, basically, Nazi, let's call him. And, that shows you who, basically, ran America, or, was one wing of the ruling class in America, and, who has their, finger on the button in America. People like that, and people who, they have no decency. They have no, like Medvedev. I'm not a fan of him over here, but he's a liberal. I hate liberals, but, he said of his fellow liberals in the West, they have no heart, they have no brain, there's no one to talk to, right? And so, that family story of mine, it's profound, and it shows you, why, I don't know, a plurality of Russians, maybe a majority, in the end, we don't care, if the whole world goes up in a ball of flame. These lunatics and Nazis in the West, And they deny being Nazis. They say we're the beautiful liberal people. We have beautiful souls. You're, scummy, deplorable. What's the word the Ukrainians use? Vatnik, Sovok. Shovel, cotton quilt, jacket-wearing filth. Communist Soviet filth. Um, but we're beautiful liberals who, incidentally, we, took little children by the feet and we smashed their brains out on trees. And then in the West, they gave those filth shelter. The Lithuanian scum in Chicago or Philadelphia or whatever, got given shelter because they were good anti-communists fighting for freedom. So, if all of that filth wants to go up in a ball of flame, basically, I never met my cousin Ita Altarovna Gurevich because of the Cold War and this lunatic Nazi filth in the West. So, I'm almost happy to think of them, being incinerated. I only wish they would be gut shot and suffer for hours, or beaten to death slowly. That's, yeah. So, yeah. So that's basically, yeah, one family story.